Hi. So today I just wanted to do a very casual chat because um, I won't be releasing a podcast episode this week. So I am so disturbed by the fact that my camera records this inverted. And like I find it really hard to do a live for this reason because my kitchen is this way. Whatever. It's fine. It's fine. Everything's fine. So today, sorry, it's somehow freezing in my apartment. So I had like a cute like fit on and I had to put a sweater over it. So apologies if you care, which you probably don't. You probably want to hear me talk about the main topic, which I'll get into right now. So this morning I was in a client session where she was feeling really frustrated about not really understanding why certain things happen for other people and they don't happen for her, and like when is life going to get good. And I've been working with her for about almost a year now, even though we took a break at some point, and she's been going through a lot for a long time, right? Like about a year now. Um, and she's in this area where she's like, okay, well, my ex has a new girlfriend. He's good. He's feeling good. And I'm sitting here still trying to work out my healing and, paying for therapy, trying to get better, and still not seeing my mental inner improvement reflected in my life, right? So totally understand the frustration. It's definitely a bit, um, it can definitely make you lose hope for what you want to do in the future. And you're like kind of can have this momentum when you start your healing journey and you're like, okay, I'm ready to let go, I'm ready to work through all these things that are preventing me from creating the life that I want. And then you kind of start working through it and you're doing the hard work and you're like deep in the mud and you're like, okay, so where's the other side? And like when? Because I'm tired and I want to go home, right? And the issue is that you don't have a home anymore in this sort of emotional space. What the healing journey does is it eliminates the previous self, right? The psyche, in Jungian psychology, we believe that the psyche goes through several transformations throughout life. And each time you have a transformation, your persona, your identity, who you identify as, who you think you are, is ripped away from you, either by choice, and you willingly release, or by force, right? And you're forced to rethink your identity. So this is like moments that happen in life that explain this sort of forced break in identity is your job, right? If you identified with your employment, you might get fired, right? This is the unconscious circumstance that's put in your life to rip, break, undo everything you've created and this identity that you've decided to build, right? This is supposed to happen. There's nothing wrong with it, even though we might see like, oh, I was fired from my job, or I had a breakup, I had a friendship breakup, a romantic breakup, or something terrible happened in my family life, or I'm going through financial issues. And these are things that we see as bad. And technically, they're definitely unpleasant. I hear you on that. But the underlying purpose of it is for your benefit, right? And this is the way that we like to think the universe, everything happens for a reason that benefits me, It's something I tell myself a lot. And this is one of those examples of, everything happens for a reason that benefits me. That's really not obvious, right? Like, why would you get fired for your job? That doesn't benefit me. Why would my boyfriend break up with me? That doesn't benefit me, right? It does eventually after this process that's initiated by the tower moment, the destruction of the past. So, liminal space. What do we do with this, in between, right? It's I think Jung referred to it. I don't know if it was Jung himself, like Carl Jung, the psychologist, or something I learned in class. I don't know if he's the one that said this, but the individual is like an island, right? This is your I. This is my I am this. I am employed at so and so place. I am so and so's girlfriend. I am so and so's best friend. Okay. This is your I. This is your island. Okay. By choice or by force, your island goes to shit. Wildfire, tornado, earthquake, all of it. All of it. You might have had your island attacked from several angles, right? And now you're on a boat from previous island to your next island, right? It's really easy to see this transition as a terrible time in your life because you're in between. You're not one thing and you're not the next thing. You're just in the middle, right? And this is what happens when you decide that you want greatness. Goodness can't stay in your life. When you want what's great, there's no room for good. So if something in your life was just good enough, then it's not going to stay because what you ask the universe for is great. And to make space for great, it made you let go and rid you of good. Okay? Now you're on the boat, escaping the tower moment that happened on your last island and looking for a new place to settle down, And this is where clients reach out to me or like right before they have to leave their previous island. But, it's this idea of like, where am I going to put my tent? Where can I settle down? Like, where can I tent up, get in my space, get in my habitat? Where can I create? Where can I start building? Because I know what I want and I'm ready to start building it. And I'm ready to get off this damn boat. Yeah, I know the feeling. Yeah, it sucks. It sucks. It does. But actually, it doesn't suck. It's easy to say that it sucks. And I've been there and I hated it. I'm literally still in a transition. My apartment is still like halfway built. I've been living here for 2 weeks now and I still don't have couch. I don't have a bunch of stuff that like would actually make this feel like home. So I'm still with like my tent on my back. Still trying to be like, God, like, really trying to settle my ass down. Whenever you feel like it, just let me know. No, but where I am right now is a blessing, and I definitely don't want to seem ungrateful for that. The point is, after me going on tangents, the point is that when you are in this in between, it's an adventure because you might think you know what you want. But if you're creating another island, if you're looking for another island that looks like your last island, it's going to fall apart again right before your eyes, right? You don't want what you know. You want what's not familiar. You want what's unknown, right? And this is not comfortable, right? It's not supposed to be. And remember, the animal side of your brain is going to be really mad at you for seeking the unknown. It's going to be like, we don't want to go where we haven't been before. please just go back to what we know. And you're going to be like, well, that island is now ashes. And your animal brain's like, well, at least it's predictable. At least we know what's going on. Did someone enter my live? Oh no. So you're going to have to fight that animalistic urge to go towards what's familiar, right? So you're creating this new island, and in that process you're discovering yourself, right? Because you're going to want to create an island that's not defined by the same things that you were defined by on the previous island. That way, even though you're going to transition out of that island, you're going to grow out of it the same way a snake grows out of its skin naturally, and there's no need for it to have attachment to its old skin. It just grew. Like the same way you're going to grow out of this new island that you create this well. It's not going to hurt as much if your identity and your sense of value is not attached to the material items in that island. So if your identity is related to your job, then your job is going to be taken away from you. If your identity is related to your finances, then your finances are going to be taken away from you. Why? Because you need to figure out who you are with nothing. With no job, with no accomplishments, with no achievements. Who are you at your core? Can you be confident? Can you be internally confident if nobody's in your life telling you you're awesome, I love you? If you're single for 2-3 years at a time, can you still be confident and know that you are lovable and wanted and deserving of romantic love if no one gives it to you, right? You have to. That's what the universe is pushing you to become and to be, is to finally become this person that doesn't need the material aspects of the island to feel good. That you can be in the liminal space on the boat on your way to your new island and still feel good. Because you know who's on the boat? You are. And you're awesome. So there's nothing really to be scared of because you can handle all of it. Like, clearly, you've made it this far in life. There's nothing to be afraid. If anything, people should be afraid of you. So that's the challenge here, is to become so centered in yourself that the tower moments that have happened and that are going to happen in the future do nothing to you, because you see a tower moment as an opportunity to expand your potential. Because how could you expand your potential in the old island? You can't. You're limited. The old, where you used to be it's literally just it's a confined space. It's like your old snakeskin. It's not, you can't experience how beautiful you can be, how beautiful life can be if you're still attached to the way things used to be. Because as good as that was, it wasn't great, right? And you couldn't fully be yourself in that old place. So it's an opportunity to become a new version of you. And we're meant to look at this liminal space as an adventure, right? And you're kind of picking up on new parts of yourself and new things that you're like, oh, turns out, for example, something that was like a tower moment for me was not getting the guy I wanted and having the guy that I wanted get into a relationship with someone else. And that was like a pretty big tower moment for me, because I thought we were meant to be together and all this craziness. The thing I had to learn was that I actually don't even want a guy like that at all, right? He was like a creative. And I thought I was always meant to be with creatives. Yeah, it turns out I'm the creative. And I don't need a creative man. And turns out this doesn't go for all creatives, but for the creative men that I was attracting, they didn't have enough, you know, enough stability in their life to stabilize me, right? So it ended up becoming a complete undoing of what I had a taste for, what used to make my heart flutter, what used to make me like really obsessed and into somebody is now completely different. Like in my dating history, like literally, who I used to date and like 4 years ago is so different than the men I've dated and attracted in the past year or two, because the old island was ripped that identity away from me, and it was painful, and losing that person was, I mean, a type of pain and heartbreak that I wouldn't wish on anybody. I mean, I was really not I was not doing well. On the other side, I actually came to realize more about myself and realize that the identity that I had attached to, me being the type that likes like the musician or the creative type or the artist is actually not me at all. And it's not a reflection of who I am. And turns out I don't need the artistic or creative type to be creative in my life. Kind of crazy, because I really never thought of myself as creative until like recently, and I was like, oh wait, I don't need an artist, I'm an artist. Hello. So I hope that example helps kind of clarify what this process is meant to do. You're meant to, play with the opposite extreme, right? Somehow I was always like a very dominant sort of woman, and life really pushed me to lean more into my submissive feminine side, to kind of flow a little bit more than I control and plan. So as a dominant woman, I was actually always attracting submissive men, and that was what I was attracted to. Like if a dominant man came towards me, I'd be like, whoa, too much. You're going to try to control me. You're going to try to tell me what to do. I've already seen that in, my parents' relationship. Don't want that. Yeah, it turns out I actually can foster a balance of me being a submissive and dominant woman. I can be the alpha and beta in one, and I'm seeking a man who's also an alpha beta, right? So that completely changes what I'm attuned to look for, because I'm no longer leaning on one side of the spectrum of like, oh, I'm looking for a submissive man. Now I've actually leaned more towards like a dominant type of man, which is like literally the first 22 years of my life was like a no-go for me, right? So the allowing of the destruction of the old self, of the old persona, of the old identity gives you an opportunity to figure out your actual taste, preferences, values, and core beliefs that you want to base your next life around. Because what ended up happening is that I created a core belief that I want to be with somebody who makes me feel safe and protected, right? And the men that I was attracting before, not that they weren't like manly enough to protect me, or like strong enough or something, but they didn't make me feel safe. They weren't emotionally safe. They were emotionally unstable and unavailable, right? So now, since I changed my core belief to be, I need emotional safety, that's my value, my new island is based on my value on my belief that I need and want somebody who is safe, who can protect my heart. So my life is now a reflection of that, right? So now the life that I've created is calling that towards me. And I've seen it come up in several different, people and ways, and people who are attracted towards me, because now I've put out this energy that, hey, this is my values. Universe, bring people that align with that value towards me. Whereas before on my old island, those weren't my values. I didn't really have those sort of values around relationships. It wasn't about like, oh, I need somebody who can make me feel safe. It was really more about, I need somebody who is hot and cold with me because that's what makes me feel like I'm loved. um, yeah, crazy. I'm just kidding. I don't mean that in a bad way. So I think that's everything I had to say on this topic. I mean, there's so much to talk about in this sort of liminal space and how frustrating it is to be like waiting for your next life to start. It's not really like a distinct start stop, for your next life, because there's a point where like you get to your new island and it's empty, right? So you have to start building blocks. And so you're going to be in the building blocks of your new life. And you might still have this sense of like, oh my God, I feel like I'm still on the boat. Like I still don't have my comfort. I still don't have the boyfriend I want. I still don't have the job that I want. Like, what is going on? And it's because you're in the process of building the house. And building a house takes like a long ass time. So try not to be impatient with it, because this time you're building a house that is a better reflection of who you are at your core and not a reflection of the ways in which you were hurt in your childhood, right? So that transition is going to take time, and there's nothing bad about that, right? You really need to see the time that it takes as an investment and as an exciting, place to be in your life, where you're like, oh, okay, the more time I put in now, the easier it's going to be later, right? You just can't lose faith that the life that you're trying to create is coming towards you, right? It's just this process of building it and manifesting it and really clearing out all that gunk that, even if your old island is destroyed, you still carried some energy from that into your new island. So releasing that and coming to terms with parts of yourself that you're like, oh man, I thought this was genuinely who I am. For example, me attracting like the creative type, I thought that was like genuinely my personality. And turns out I don't really actually need them to have a certain type of job for me to like them. Kind of don't know why I did in the first place. But now the island that I've created is more aligned with who I really am, right? Not just aligned with a version of me that I became because I was unhealed. And so I encourage you to look at your next phase in your life. Look at the finding of the land, right? The finding your island, the plotting out where you're going to build your house, how you're going to build your house, picking out the layout, putting it down brick by brick, right? Creating your tent, like figuring out where you're going to put down your tent. All of that is a timely matter, but you're not waiting for life to get good. It's already getting good. You've already left the old you, right? You're in the process of building the new you. Don't put a timestamp on it. That's not going to help anybody. That's not going to make the construction workers work any faster. The timestamp, the deadline is purely ego based. Like, we're trying to build a beautiful house for you, and all you're doing is looking at your watch. It's not productive. Okay, so while you're building the house, be excited. You're able to like build your own house from scratch and have like the bathrooms where you want them to be, and it's going to be like your dream master bedroom and your dream living room situation and your dream kitchen, and you get to put in every little detail. You get to pick it because it's yours. And yeah, it takes time. It's supposed to. Okay? So this is what I want you to say to your own mind when it starts to be like, okay, but why is my house taking forever to build, but my ex's house is, it looks built. It looks like he's happy with his new girlfriend. It looks like he's stable. Like, I've literally having an identity crisis. I have no idea who I am and I have no idea where I'm going. I'm just building these little blocks day by day, but like, what am I doing? Right? Tell your brain, first of all, his house sucks because he rushed it and he went into like a rental that was like cheap. Okay, so don't look at his house. He's gonna look at your house when it's done and be like, oh damn, I missed out, like bad. And tell your own mind, like, whoa, dude, this takes time because I'm building something really awesome. You can't rush greatness. Rome wasn't built in a day. And hopefully that sort of internal dialogue can help bring your mind back down to reality and stop the emphasis on time and the emphasis on the waiting and the emphasis on comparing your life to someone else, because it's not really about that. It's about you building your dream home. Is there something else you want? Do you want to build a shitty tent instead to live in? Do you want to make a house made out of straws? Because the universe thought you wanted better. The universe thought you wanted a mansion. It's gave you the building blocks for the mansion. Takes time to build? Well, yeah. So the choice is really up to you. You have to decide really what you want more. Do you want your dream home? Or do you want a temporary home that's going to look really similar to your last one, your last island? Let me know if you have any questions in the comments. I am so happy you're here and that you're listening. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I love talking. I love contributing. I love loving on new people. So please join my community. In the episode description, you can also find a link to book services with me, as well as a free self-love exercise that I offer, a free webinar that I have, and yeah, ton of more tools. I also recommend you listen to my podcast, which is why we did this live this week, because there's no episode coming out this week. It was a really crazy week last week with Thanksgiving and everything. But save the podcast, put the notifications on, subscribe, and please reach out with any questions you might have. I love debating about topics like this. Even if, your opinion is contrary to mine, I would love to discuss. So feel free to say anything and be honest. Okay, bye for now.